Everyone. I want to welcome you all to worship on this Sunday morning, and I want to thank everyone who's joining us from their homes today for joining us online and being here with us any way that you can. We talked about that a bit today in our confirmation class, the ways in which we worship and what church means as we move into our second semester of our confirmation time this year. And I am just so thankful that in the last couple weeks, in the midst of this extended Christmas break that everyone has been on, that we had a chance to meet Sunday, regardless of the weather, regardless of what was going on outside. We still joined together online, which I thought went really well. One of the things that's always been a favorite of mine since we started doing that is when those windows populate. And I can see you all in the waiting room. I know who's in there. And then the countdown begins, and I'm usually talking with a co-host, and then everybody's faces pop up, and you all smile, and you get to chat with one another. Which brings us to this Sunday, finally, the opportunity to be back together. And so some of the announcements that I'm going to share with you are announcements that would have been used last week. It seems like, we would have been through this, but we're not. As you can see, there's a Christmas tree here. And normally that Christmas tree would be gone, and most of things are down, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments. There's a blue Ford with a Nut Club license plate with the alarm going off in the parking lot. Let's wait and see who that is. Brock Henheisen, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Let's go, Brock. Let's go, Brock. Come on, Coach Bresson would want you to hustle more than that if you were going to go get some. Excellent. He's not coming back in. You're going to hear the vehicle leave. Like, just heck with that place. A couple of prayer concerns that I want to bring up this morning. Kathy Duncan at West River. Brenda Bean is at Deaconess Midtown. And Karen's husband, Warren, is at St. Vincent, who's now been transferred, still on the St. Vincent campus following a stroke he had a few days ago, to their rehab facility. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for allowing me to be with you guys a little bit yesterday once the roads cleared and things like that. If we could remember those people in our prayers and give whatever support we can, that would be wonderful. Next Sunday already is our annual meeting. And so we'll gather here in the sanctuary. There will be booklets available to you and all those types of things that show the order of the meeting and all the things that we will go through. We invite you to stay after. For those of you that are joining us from home, we want you to know that there will be a Zoom option as well for that meeting, which helps us continue to include as many people as possible. This slide and that code takes you to the updates that are going to be proposed to our Constitution. The reason we're making that available online is we do not have a color printer here at church. And so if you download that and you look at it on your phone, you're going to see things that are in red that are the proposed changes. Again, those proposed changes aren't drastic. Those proposed changes aren't earth-shattering. Just a lot of updates and things that we needed to make to our Constitution. We're going to be starting another grief support group. If you'd like to be a part of that gathering, we're going to be going on Thursdays, and we'll meet at 6 p.m., and we'll meet upstairs in the Sunday school area. This resource is what we will be using if you would like to purchase them. This right here is a workbook. This is something that we've been working through in the first part of our grief meetings. This is the book supplement to this workbook. You can purchase both if you would like, but this is what we will be focusing on as a part of our gathering time together if you would like to join us. Again, if you'd like to stay after worship today, help us take some Christmas decorations down. I know there's not a lot to do, but if you've ever been a part of putting this ladder up to take this down, it's a job in itself, and we'll probably be done in about an hour or so. So if you could stick around, it would be very, very beneficial. If you'd still like to make donations to our solar campaign, we are in the process of working with the county and getting all the proper permits and all of those types of things. those donations can still be given. This adult Bible study class was scheduled to start this Sunday. Steve and Nancy were out of town. They were on a cruise. They were down around the Keys. They were down where it was warm, and they came back home, got home last night, couldn't really get up their driveway, and so they're busy working to get things cleared out at their house. That class will start next week. We were just pushing it back a week. If you had a poinsettia, there's a few left here. Make sure you take yours. Otherwise, we're going to plant them today. If some are left, I would invite people to go ahead and take one. Is that okay? Where's Ruth sitting? Ruth, there you are. Is that okay? So they just don't, I would rather have them go to somebody than to just be sitting here and deteriorating. Perfect. This is something we were going to do last week as well. So during the closing hymn, I will make my way out into the foyer. I have all of our Epiphany Star words in a basket for you to draw from. What word will draw you today? I don't know. I showed the word that I drew last week when we were online. My word was joy. And I'll try to live that out and study that and embrace that the best I can. So if you would go out into the foyer, I'll be there. If you'd like to draw a word, feel free. I'll have them there with us. My last announcement today, and you're going to be seeing more of this as we move forward, has to do with our mental health initiative and the implementation of everything that we worked to create. Our first event will take place on February 8th at Jacobs Village. Dr. Tom Longwell will be presenting to us and speaking with us about the importance of sleep and your overall mental health. We won't be there a long time, so no, you won't be allowed a nap. All of these events that you're going to start hearing about are provided through the Center for Congregations Mental Health Initiative grant that we received. Lunch will be provided. Hagen-Sauce will be catering all of the food. Dr. Tom Longwell's fees are paid for through the grant. The literature that he will provide to you is provided through the grant. The fees to reserve space at Jacobs Village is all provided through the grant. And we have reservations for about 100 slots. So this announcement doesn't just apply to our church, but it has been sent out to all the churches, all the United Church of Christ churches currently in the Indiana-Kentucky Conference in our area, as well as outside of our area somewhat. It's an easy registration. A couple ways you can do it. There's a sign-up sheet on the board in the foyer where you can simply put your name and phone number and we'll register you. If you use that form registration, that little link that's at the bottom of that page, or if you go to our Facebook page, or if you want me to provide that link to you, Lauren Kern has provided a really easy way to register. You just click that link and it'll ask you for a few questions, and then it helps us continue to track how many registrations we have for this event. This is not just an event for adults, it's an event for all ages, because the importance of sleep is something that I think goes overestimated. I'm going to talk a little bit today during the sermon about my time in Puerto Rico. I won't share this story, but one of the things that I experienced in Puerto Rico that I don't experience and haven't ever experienced since my grandfather, working with my grandfather when I was younger, because he was big on after lunch naps. Eat lunch. It's probably because we had mashed potatoes and fried chicken and we had to lay down. You're just too full. It provided me and my brother a time to sneak out when he was napping to take the pickup out in the alfalfa field and turn some donuts, right? And then come back and pretend like nothing happened. When I went to Puerto Rico, one of the things that Cesar Coloma said to me was, hey, we're going to be up late tonight. We got a group coming in from New Jersey. We're going to cut off after lunch. I want you to go back to your apartment and take a nap. And then we'll get back together around 6 o'clock and make our way into San Juan to pick up a group. I've never had anybody that I've worked for in the United States say to me, you know what, you've been working hard, why don't you go take a nap? Sleep is something that we sometimes don't give enough credit to for our overall health and well-being. So I encourage you to consider signing up and joining us. Again, it's going to be about a 2-hour event, so it's not a long time. Starts at 11, you're going to be out there at 1, you get some good food, get some great information. And that will lead into some following events. Our second event that you can just start to put on your calendar, I'm not advertising because this is the most important right now, is going to take place at Warehouse 410. And it focuses on youth suicide and suicide prevention. One of the things that I think is continuing to be an issue within the mental health of our nation is how many young people continue to take their lives through suicide. And that event will be led by a woman that I know from Nebraska who's coming in to make that presentation. Again, all provided through our grant. I'll share more about that the closer we get. So focus on this. Lauren was here just a minute ago because she told me, how many registrations do we have yet? Has it stayed at that? How much? We have 12, okay. So we put that up about 4 or 5 days ago. We've got 12 registrations. That leaves us 88 more slots available. Use that form link or the form that is in the foyer. Carol Joe is here with us to share some wonderful music this morning. She made a great suggestion on our hymns today. I look forward to singing them with you. Sandy, if you would like to help us with our second hymn today, we try to also provide something for children from time to time. We're going to sing a little bit about Zacchaeus. So if we move our attention to Miss Carol Joe as she shares with us our prelude this morning, and then we'll begin with a morning prayer led by Miss Rowan, one of our second-year confirmants. Carol Joe. Is going to lead us in our opening prayer, so I invite you to stand as you are able and join with her in our opening prayer.
O wondrous star, on this holy day, we have gathered together once again to celebrate your presence among us, to praise you and to thank you for all you have given us. May this time of worship strengthen and refresh us, fill us with such joy that we cannot help but share it with everyone around us. Though we are very different people with many different talents and gifts, make us one in your spirit, that we may be your servant leaders. Amen.
Please be seated. Unless you're smaller and shorter and younger, you're welcome to come on down. Let's say like 0 to 11 or so. Yeah, children, come on down. 12, 13, 14, 7. Lucky number. All right, we got any balcony goers? There they are. There they are. Look, you got the tie on today, man. Look at you. Coming up here all sexy looking. Hey, let him in. Let him get your legs out of the way, you guys messing around over there. You got people coming by. And boots. They got after it today. 40's okay. That's right. All right. Who's tired of being on Christmas break? Yeah. That's a great answer. Great answer. Who's ready to go back to school? Yeah. Who's not ready to go back to school? If you didn't have to go back to school, what would you continue to do? You just want to be bored? No. Play in the snow forever? It's not going to last forever. It's just kind of been like the longest Christmas break anyone's had for quite a while. Yeah, your parents have aged like another year. It's like 2026 for them already. It's going to be good to go back. I know sometimes you get used to not having to go and not be there, and you get used to being at home and sleeping in a little bit more. But when you see all your friends and you get in some of your classes, I hope it's a wonderful reunion with all of your friends and all of your teachers and all of your classmates at your school. This morning, I want to talk to you a little bit about being bigger than yourself, meaning that you're not going to remain 7 years old, or you're not going to just remain 11 years old or 8 years old. Someday you're going to be 18 years old. Someday you're going to be graduating from high school. Someday you're going to be graduating from college maybe. Someday you're going to get your first set of car keys. Someday you are going to get your first house. Someday someone's going to ask you, what do you want to do for a career? And you're going to have something to look forward to. And sometimes when we think about being bigger than ourselves or living into the future, we think about people that have helped us and people that love us and people that have inspired us. If you were to name one person outside of your parents, okay? So parents can't be used in this one right now, but yay. I'll have you know that was Jess, by the way. So when she comes back to that 7th row or so, you can, yeah. If you're going to beat them, just take them out there. Somebody outside of your parents that's been an inspiration to you, who would you name? Who would you say? Your grandma, your grandmother. Who would you say? God. You'd go with something way beyond. Yes. Who's that? You're a friend of yours. Okay, perfect. Yes. Your nana. Yeah, you're a grandparent, of course. All kinds of people can inspire us. Other things that sometimes help us in moments like that are things that are really, really valuable to us. Sometimes they're like a lucky charm, or it's something that we carry with us that reminds us of something bigger than ourselves or someone. Do any of you have a most important item that you always have with you or want to have with you? What would it be? Your Snuggie blankie and your bunny. Eliza has a little bunny that she carries with her all the time. And you like to sleep with a lot of what around you, Eliza? Yeah, that's what she calls all those stuffed animals. She goes, I want more stuffies. And so you have your little bunny and you got all kinds of stuffies around you, don't you? And then you wake up in the morning and you open the door. And then what do you say to your mom and dad? Oh, you want some candy? Yeah. And do they say, yes, here's your candy? They do? Excellent. Excellent parents. Excellent parents. Yes, something that's real special to you. Wish you had it all the time. Yeah. Yes. You have a stuffed animal dog. Perfect. What do you have? You got 2 turtles? Oh, you do? Excellent. 2 of them? What were you going to say? Have your family around you. Yeah, as much as you can. A little, like a small, like ceramic dog, or a bigger dog. Yeah, yeah. Does it remind you of a dog you once had? No, it's just a special gift. It's just a real special gift. I brought something today that I wanted to show you that's real special to me, that sometimes helps me, and sometimes I read from this. It's a Bible, and it's not so much that it's a Bible to me, it's that whose Bible it was. And it sits in my office, and it sits right, if I'm facing my computer, I'm usually facing that way, and it's just to my left. And sometimes I just read from this one because it has all kinds of special things in it, like this, like just all kinds of interesting stuff that was placed in here, and things like this. This has my mother's handwriting on it. This was my mother's Bible. And when she died, I got it. And so when I page through it, I can see some pages that she marked on. I can see some pages that she left a bookmark in. I haven't moved any of these items from that book. And I also have little notes that show up in the Bible that have her handwriting on them. Things like this can be really, really special, sometimes inspiring to us, like your stuffies, or like your dog, or like your parents even, or sometimes like your special stuffed animal, whatever they may be. They can help us through some of those challenging moments. And you're going to have all kinds of people in your life that help you to do that. Sometimes your parents, sometimes your brother, sometimes your sister, sometimes your dad, sometimes your stepdad, sometimes a teacher, sometimes a coach, sometimes a pastor, sometimes a member of the church, whoever it may be. I want you to think about them as guides for you as you become incredible young women and incredible young men and awesome people. Sometimes we need people to believe in us, and you have that. So as you make your way back to school tomorrow, and you're grumpy in the morning, if you got up and you asked for candy and your parents said you can't have any in the morning, and you're kind of grumpy about that, or it's just too early, think about something that makes you happy. Think about something you're thankful for. Think about something that you appreciate. Breakfast. We got it. We'll end on that. We'll end on that. One more. Your parents, for sure. Yes, Jess? It's okay. Yep. Almost everything, besides okra, right? They don't know what that is. Yes. Food. Are you hungry? Yeah. Can you join with me in a prayer? While I try to get this zip shut. There we go. Dear gracious Lord, we thank you that you love us and have allowed us to have people in our lives who love us also. Help us to dream big. Help us to be incredible leaders. And help us to lean on you when we need you. Amen. Amen. Good job. Yeah, it does. You want to hold it? See how time? We got the clapping a little late. Let's do it. Some applause after she reads this particular passage.
We're reading from the prophet Nehemiah. The memoirs of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. It was the month of Kislev in the 20th year. At the time, I was in the palace complex at Susa. Hanani, one of my brothers, had just arrived from Judah with some fellow Jews. I asked them about the conditions among the Jews there who had survived the exile and about Jerusalem. They told me the exile survivors who are left there in the province are in bad shape. Conditions are appalling. The wall of Jerusalem is still rubble. The city gates are still cinders. When I heard this, I sat down and wept. I mourned for days, fasting and praying before the God of heaven. I said, God of heaven, the great and awesome God, loyal to his covenant and faithful to those who love him and obey his commands. Look at me, listen to me, pay attention to this prayer of your servant, and I'm praying day and night in intercession for your servants, the people of Israel, confessing the sins of the people of Israel. And I'm including myself, I and my ancestors, among those who have sinned against you. We treated you like dirt. We haven't done what you told us, haven't followed your commands, and haven't respected the decisions you gave to Moses your servant. All the same, remember the warning you posted to your servant Moses. If you betray me, I'll scatter you to the four winds. But if you come back to me and do what I tell you, I'll gather up all these scattered people from whatever they ended up and put them back in the place I chose to mark with my name. Well, there they are, your servants, your people whom you so powerfully and impressively redeemed. O Master, listen to me, listen to your servant's prayer, and yes, to all your servants who delighted in honoring you, and make me successful today so that I get what I want from the king. I was cupbearer to the king.
There you go. Yeah. I shared that information with her and said, if you need some help with it, let me know. And she said, I don't need any of your stinking help. I got this, and you got it. Nice job. Nice job. And one of the things about this passage that's important to consider is some of what's happening after this particular amount of verses that we chose. He's asking for something, he's praying for something, and he's asking to be made successful when he goes to meet with the king. And he's going to meet with the king for a specific thing, and that has a lot to do with his hometown. And that has a lot to do with Jerusalem. As it said earlier in that passage, it was just in rubble. So he has a dream of something. He has a dream to do something that he's not sure he's going to be able to accomplish. He's not sure he's going to be able to overcome, but he's willing to engage and at least try. With that being said, and as a backdrop, I want to start with a little story that helps us get into the context, I believe, of thinking about doing something that maybe we weren't sure we'd be able to accomplish even before we started. And once we got into it, we may have even felt the same way. One of the joys of my seminary time, when I was at United Theological Seminary, that's the sanctuary on campus, was to be invited to be a part of what was at that time called the Intercultural Exchange Program, and that was on the island of Puerto Rico. And I had the opportunity to work with a gentleman whose name was Cesar Coloma, and we worked on the campus of that hospital right there, Ryder Memorial Hospital. Why Ryder Memorial Hospital? Well, Ryder Memorial Hospital was founded generations ago with the vision and assistance of the United Church of Christ. So Ryder Memorial Hospital comes into existence on the island of Puerto Rico through our denomination. As a part of this intercultural exchange program, Cesar arranged for work groups to come from the United States and around the world who'd come to the island to do various things. Things like spending a day at the orphanage, things like going to a nursing home and spending some time with some residents if it was needed, painting rooms, doing some landscaping work. We worked at domestic shelters. We worked with home health care nurses and explored the island. And my job, alongside Cesar for the time that I was there, was to serve as a liaison with these groups. I'd get them to their locations that they needed to go to. I'd be a person that met with them in the morning. I'd be at work sites. I'd go on excursions with Cesar in the evening, and I provided leadership as they reflected upon their experiences of that day. And it was a wonderful experience. I got to meet people from all over the world who had decided that they wanted to volunteer some of their time on this island. And in that experience, I learned some valuable insights. I learned about different cultures. I learned about history. I learned that rice and chicken are a staple along with plantains. You could always get them. And I learned a lot about people. On one hand, we could be out on a work day and have just the worst experience you might imagine. The van may have ran out of gas. The van may have broke down. When we were in Puerto Rico, if you didn't get the higher octane gas, your vehicle didn't run well. Well, one day I didn't get the higher octane gas because the 87 is a little bit cheaper, right? Well, coming over a mountain is... I thought the van was breaking down. I called Cesar and he said, well, what kind of gas did you get? Traffic could be horrible. It could have rained all day. We could have had an excursion to the rainforest. We might have been set to go to El Yunque and to have a beautiful experience in the rainforest on the mountain, and it might have rained all day. Someone may have gotten pecked by a chicken, who knows? And at our nightly devotions, usually right down by the beach or on a beach, during that time, a group would talk about the incredible blessings of that day. I'd invite them to think about the ways in which God had impacted their lives, in ways in which God had spoke to them through their experiences of that particular day. And some people would talk about having an awesome day, even if they got pecked by a chicken. Even if the van broke down. Even if we didn't know where we were going right away. Even if we were supposed to start at 8 a.m. and we didn't go till 9:30. That was the worst thing for Americans coming to Puerto Rico, was the time thing. We still deal with that in our own family because my youngest son married to a Puerto Rican. We usually tell them that things are to start an hour earlier than they do because then they're on time, right? On the other hand, I might work with a group on a particular day in which everything that you could imagine went splendidly. There were no issues with any supplies at any work site. There was an incredible breeze in the mountains. We got our work done early and we had time to stop in Old San Juan and get a snow cone or see some of the sights. The families we were volunteering with on that particular day might have cooked us an incredible lunch that day because they knew that the group was from the United States, and so they felt like they would cook them something that reminded them of home. And when it came time for lunch, they'd say, we want you to eat here, and we fried chicken, and we mashed potatoes, and we got corn, and we'd like you to eat with us because we're so thankful that you're here. And when it came time to do evening devotions, all the group could do was find things to complain about. The corn wasn't like it was from back home. The seats in the van were kind of uncomfortable. The Freon must need to be checked because the air conditioning in this van isn't quite what it should be. And why does it have to rain every afternoon? Anything you might imagine that could be wrong was wrong, even though the day may have gone splendidly, perfectly. Ever known situations and people like that? I remembered those things when I was studying Nehemiah today that you read so wonderfully well. Nehemiah had gotten approval, or was seeking approval, from the king to head to Jerusalem to rebuild the city. That's what he wanted to do. And in our passage, he hears about the state of that city, right? It's in shambles. It's horrible. The gates, the wooden gates, are still smoldering. The people are in really, really rough shape. And his first reaction is sadness and shock, anger. stage of grief. And some time passes and he's depressed. And he wears it on his face, so much so that the king takes notice. The king must have known him well enough to notice that something was wrong. And this has gone on for a while. And I wonder how long it took before the king finally said something. When he went past, Jeremiah or Nehemiah must be having a bad day. Nehemiah went to the king and said, I have a project. I want you to allow me the chance to take on this big project. I don't know if I can succeed at it or not. I don't know if I can make it happen or not, but I want to give it a shot. I want you to believe in me because I'm trying to believe in me too. How does one go about rebuilding a city that's been burned to the ground? Well, he takes a little time to inspect the city. He talks to the elders. He talks to the people that are there. He figures out a place to start. He's a good leader. He knows that no one will pursue these goals, and he wants to take it on himself. So they talk about how they might benefit from one another's participation. So he decides to start with the walls, and he starts rebuilding the walls. Now back then, there are no police forces, right? One had to be on guard from thieves within the city, from raiders that might come in to steal and to cause issues. Walls were defense from those things. Communal trust was the defense within the gates. Nehemiah seeks to rebuild both trust and community within those gates by rebuilding the security of the walls and gates around the community. Meanwhile, years later, Ezra will lead a similar project with the temple in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, those who were gathered there, the young, who had only heard about the temple through the stories of their ancestors, had a hard time understanding why there was so much grief. How come people were only feeling the negative or the loss? They never saw the majesty. They never experienced it firsthand. They were only a part of a generation that saw the construction begin, and they shouted for joy, and they participated. And they would finally one day get to experience the temple for themselves. And these stories were stories that they would carry on for generations. They weren't just bedtime fables. They were things that they experienced. They existed. They gave them joy, and they gave them hope. But people couldn't distinguish easily between the sound of joy and the sound of people who were grieving what was. It was just all mixed together. One group saw what was lost, and one group celebrated the possibility. And to add to the confusion as you read through this story, we have two hecklers, right? Tobiah, the Ammonite, and Sanballat. They were like these people here. Remember these two guys, Statler and Waldorf? They were like these two characters. Everything that Nehemiah was trying to do, they were mocking him. They were hoping that he would give up. They were hoping that he would stop building. They were those voices that are external. They were those voices that were on the outside, which we have to combat. What's external? What's internal? External. Those who doubt our plans. Those who tell us that we won't amount to anything and that we can't achieve that goal. They point out what we're building could be knocked over by a fox, and they're unhelpful. They're the critics. And sometimes those voices are internal. When we question our own ability, we question our own worth, we question our own knowledge, and sometimes that unhelpful inner monologue only brings up our failures and only brings up our regrets. You've tried this before, you're going to fail. Maybe you know that voice. I think many of us have this voice. The most successful of us in this room, the most successful of us watching from afar online, I believe, are those who can best ignore this voice and trust themselves. There's a band who uses the name Idols, and they sing a song entitled Television. And these are some of the lyrics in that song. It goes this way. If someone talked to you the way you talk to you, I'd put their teeth through. Love yourself. And I listen to that song a lot because it's advice that I need to keep reminding myself of. And I think it's advice that all of us need from time to time, because there's going to be doubters. There's going to be these people sitting in the balcony, right? Not you literally in the balcony, but there'll be people outside saying, you can't do that. There'll be doubters. But you believe in something bigger than yourself, right? That's why we sang Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus doesn't have anything to do with the Old Testament, but Zacchaeus has to do something with being bigger than himself and doing something and finding a way to make it work. Because sometimes we need a voice that lifts us up. We need to trust in a vision that's beyond ourselves. We need to trust in that calling. Because at first, it might seem impossible. And those internal and those external voices speak to us. It might seem impossible until it isn't. Like the church, right? All the data that you read about churches say that churches have plateaued at best. And it's been saying that for quite some time. Others show a steady decline. Not just the church, but all sorts of social groups like Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, scouting, bowling leagues, softball leagues, all that stuff. People just aren't joining groups like they used to. And there's a shift that continues. And some might hear this and they might be upset or depressed like Nehemiah was. Or the people in those Jerusalem gates that knew it before it was destroyed. They remember what it was like. Those larger women's circles, right? A choir that filled the whole altar area. Sunday school classes that you had to provide extra space for. People packing the church every single Sunday. A pastor that you could connect to. Those are the foundations and the stories that some of us remember. And we sometimes wish for that back. And we grieve that. But those glory days, like Bruce Springsteen would sing, sometimes pass you by. Yet at the same time, there are folks that sit alongside and who experience new joy. They see possibilities. They feel welcomed. They want to serve. They want to love and feel loved. And they hear what's going on here and they shout for joy like they did in those Jerusalem walls. Which makes it hard to be a leader like Nehemiah. A friend of mine who recently resigned from their church spoke about when they first arrived and said, they were told by someone on their search team that we would like to get a leader to lead our church to help us to grow. And the pastor did spend years helping them grow, and they did. But one of the things that they also heard from somebody that was on that search committee at one point in their tenure there was, it just doesn't feel like the same church anymore. I think I'm going to find a new place to be. I can imagine as they rebuilt the walls of that temple, that place in Nehemiah's time, people said, it's sure nice, but it's not exactly like it was. We used to have this over here. We used to have this right here. But he moved forward. And he wouldn't be denied. Nehemiah had a plan. Ezra had a plan. And they stuck to their vision. They felt that God was leading them into it. And they knew the course they wanted to take, and they did. And they also understood that it would be a hard one. There'd be no bargaining out of what they thought they might have to face and not face. I hear that a lot. So many of you courageously face what you need to face. Surgeries, rehabilitation, diagnoses that you don't want to hear, the deterioration of loved ones because their health won't improve, the loss of a job, a death, and so much more. Nobody wants to face that. It's like a place that you love just crumbling and has been destroyed. And every day, you continue to get up and face the day. You're here today. You're going to go to work tomorrow if you're still working. If you're retired, you're still going to get up and probably do something, if not just get your granddaughter some candy right when she wakes up. No one wants to face some of the things you've had to face. No one does. Yet every day we get up and understand that we have a job to do, one day at a time, a step at a time. And somehow, in the midst of whatever those things are, you seek, I hope you do, an inner voice that says, you are strong enough to do it. All those wonderful prophets and leaders, was it a cardinal? Blackbird. What's that a sign of? One of my next lines in my notes was, what a better place than here? And why not me? So do me a favor. When we get done here today, while we're taking down Hanging of the Greens, open the back door. Maybe the bird will fly out. But also believe those words that Nehemiah shared today. And understand that God continues to give us a vision for the future. If you believe these words, and you trust in those words, also trust that someone has faith in you. Nehemiah knew that the graciousness that was extended to him by the king to fulfill his vision came from God. God is going to use you to bless other people. God is going to bless you to bless others, but He's not going to use other people to bless you when your vision is only you. God's not going to give you a king's ransom when all you want is something for you. God underwrote the budget for this rebuild because Nehemiah was living bigger than himself. And God continues to do the same for us. God, I am confident, will continue to do the same for each and every one of us in those own special and unique ways. For the words that we've heard, for the time that we've spent, for the blessings that we've received, would you please join with me in a moment of prayer? Carol, Joe, can you do me a favor? Can you lightly play the closing hymn underneath this? Could you do that? Dear gracious and holy God, as we've gathered here today, seeking a vision for the future and to be inspired by prophets from generations ago, we ask that you give us the courage to hear the voice within ourselves that says we are good enough. We are strong enough. We are able enough to overcome whatever it is that we're doubting about us. That we've been created in your image, and as we've been created in that image, what can hold us back? May we be courageous enough to live into that future, to rebuild whatever needs to be rebuilt, to go wherever we're called to go, and to be the people that you have created us to be. May all that we seek to do be a blessing, not only to us, but to others. We pray that you hear us this morning when together we offer these words. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Let's join together as we sing our closing hymn, The Spirit Sends Us Forth to Serve. Please stand as you are able. That we've received in this space and the blessings that we are about to share beyond this space, may God continue to guide us and lead us to the places in which we are needed the most. Our worship here this morning at Zion Lippe United Church of Christ has ended. Let our service now begin. Amen. Come draw your stuff.